Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well. I'm Kirti Sophia Panachan, and in today's session we'll be continuing the poem Alexander's Feast or the Power of Music, written by John Dryden. I'll give you a quick recap of stanza 4. In the stanza, Timotheus decides to change his music once again. This time he opts for a sad music. This was to infuse pity in the mind of the listeners. For that, he began to sing about Darius. Darius was the king of Persia, and Alexander hosted this feast in connection with his victory over Persia. In his music, Timotheus began to sing about how good Darius was as a king and what happened towards the end of his life. He was murdered and he had to lie on the soil with wounds on his body, and there wasn't anybody to help him. Alexander and whoever listened to the song realized that Darius was a very good man, but his fate was very bad. This actually infused pity in the minds of the listeners. So now we'll go towards the end of the stanza, the last 5 lines. With downcast looks the joyless victor sate, revolving in his altered soul the various turns of chance below, and now and then a sigh he stole, and tears began to flow. So now here we could see that Alexander is extremely disappointed. Even though he had won over Persia, he doesn't feel happy. He is looking down. He's not looking at anybody else. He sits at his throne like a joyless victor. Joyless victor is actually an oxymoron. We could see that two opposite words are placed together. Joyless victor. Joyless is something that we are unhappy. Victor means a person who has won. So a person who has won would never be unhappy. But here it is being stated that Alexander is very unhappy even though he won his war. Revolving in his altered soul, in his mind he began to have some pity. He was extremely sad. He was overwhelmed, and it was a heavy feeling in his heart. And the various turns of chance below, he began to think about the past. He had killed a lot of kings. He began to think about all of them, and now and then a sigh he stole. He began to think about all of them, and whenever he thought about it, he began to give loud, long breath. He didn't want to face anybody. He was extremely disappointed and unhappy, and tears began to flow. His eyes were filled with tears, and it flowed through his cheeks. And this actually shows the power of music. When Timotheus changed the music and when he began to sing about Darius, it infused pity in the mind of Alexander. Even though Alexander, in the other stanzas, we could see that he was intoxicated, he had a religious feeling, and all these feelings were infused in his mind only through music. And here, Timotheus again became successful in infusing pity in the mind of Alexander. Moving on to the next stanza. The mighty master smiled to see that love was in the next degree. It was but a kindred sound to move, for pity melts the mind to love. So in these lines we could see the mighty master is Timotheus, and Timotheus is having a smile on his face because he began to realize that love was infused in the mind of Alexander. Love was at its peak in Alexander's mind, and pity and love is quite related. And when the song of pity was played, it moved Alexander's mind, and Alexander began to be in an emotion of love. For pity melts the mind to love. So when we have pity towards anybody, we would have love in our mind. When pity arouses, love also comes along with it. Softly sweet in Lydian measures, soon he soothed his soul to pleasures. So Timotheus is playing Lydian measures right now. That's the name of the music. And soon he soothed, that is, Timotheus began to soothe Alexander's soul to pleasure. Love infused music began to be a great pleasure for Alexander. Alexander began to enjoy the music. He began to be filled with love and emotions. War, he sung, is toil and trouble, honor but an empty bubble, never ending, still beginning, fighting still and still destroying. So in these lines, Timotheus is trying to explain that war is something very, very emotional, because war is very hard. Toil means hard work, and war is very hard and troublesome. It is not so easy to be in a war. And Alexander was a person who has traveled around the world to conquer the world. He wanted to conquer the world, and he has been a part of a number of battles. So he became a part of these battles because he wanted honor. But here, Timotheus is actually trying to infuse some questions into the mind of Alexander by telling him that honor is an empty bubble, because when a bubble bursts, there's nothing left. So just like that, honor is something that it's very short lived. We fight for a battle just to get honor, but it's not a long lasting effect. It bursts immediately. It is a very short lived thing. Never ending, still beginning. So wars are never ending, or the hunger for honor. Every human being who wants to conquer the world and all would have a hunger for honor. It's a never ending process. Whatever they get, they won't be satisfied, and they crave more for more. They want more in their life. Fighting still and still destroying. So Alexander was fighting and again, and he was not satisfied with whatever he got. So he was fighting still, and he's destroying everything, and even his own army and his people. He is not giving a peace of mind for anybody. If the world be worth thy winning, think, oh think, it worth enjoying. So here, Timotheus, through his music, he's asking Alexander, oh, Alexander, just think, what you are doing right now, is it worthy enough? Is it worth enough to win the world? Just think, because this world is made for enjoying. So you should enjoy this world rather than running around and trying to conquer the world. Try to enjoy this world. That is what Timotheus is trying to convey to Alexander. Lovely Thais sits beside thee. Take the good the gods provide thee. So here, Timotheus is telling that the lovely Thais is the wife of Alexander. Thais is sitting beside you, and you should thank the gods for providing such a beautiful wife for you. The many rent the skies with loud applause. The many means the audience. The audience began to applaud in such a manner that it actually echoed through the skies. So the audience were too happy, and they were so much moved by the music. So love was crowned, but music won the cause. So here, through music, love was infused in the minds of the spectators. And here, what happened is music has won again. The prince, unable to conceal his pain, gazed on the fair. The prince here is Alexander. Alexander was unable to conceal or to shut down his pain. His pain was love. He was having too much love towards his wife. So he began to look at his beautiful wife. Gazed means look, and fair means it's his wife who caused his care. So the pain of love was caused by his wife, and sighs and looked, sighed and looked, sighed and looked, and sighed again. So he was sighing. Sighing means to give a long, deep breath, loud breath. And here, Alexander is looking at his wife again, and he's taking a long breath. He's looking at his wife again, and he's doing it again and again. So these lines could be called as a refrain because it is a repetition of a whole word or a line. So it's repeated again and again. At length with love and wine at once oppressed, the vanquished victor sunk upon her breast. In these lines, we could see that Alexander is having a number of feelings within himself. He's having feelings of love, and he's having a lot of emotions within himself. And here, the vanquished victor sunk upon her breast. So, vanquished victor. Vanquished means defeat. Victor means somebody who won. So these two words are an oxymoron. We could say that two opposite words or meaningful words have been brought together. So the vanquished victor sunk upon her breast. So with all the emotions, Alexander began to have a strong feeling of love towards his wife, and he just lay on her breast. So that's all for today. So we'll continue the poem in the next session. Thank you so much.